For the past 2 Octobers, I've been making videos about the villains from different series in Dragon Ball and what could have happened if they won. 2 years ago, I made videos about what could have happened if the villains from Dragon Ball Z, the movies, and Dragon Ball Super won. Last year, I made videos about what could have happened if villains from the Dragon Ball specials won. This year, I'm going to make videos about what could have happened if the villains from Dragon Ball Daima won. As usual, I'm going to give a quick preface before getting into these scenarios. These scenarios aren't going to be realistic, as there isn't always a realistic way every villain can win. These videos are also going to be short, as we weren't told what some of the villains in Daima wanted to do if they won, so there isn't always a lot to talk about. Also, I'm going to make 2 videos as bonus scenarios. They won't be about a villain winning, and in one case it isn't about a villain at all, but they still have to do with Dragon Ball Daima. With that out of the way, we can finally get into the main topic of this video. Now, getting Degasu to win is a bit hard, but I think it can be done. The first change would be when he sends the girl to find the evil third eye. From the things she said, it didn't seem like he told her where he would be in the palace. After all, she had to wander around to try and find them, which is when she found Goma instead and gave him the evil third eye. In this timeline, Degasu actually tells her where he will be in the palace, so once she retrieves the evil third eye from Hibis, she brings it right to him. He wouldn't hesitate to have this girl help put it in his forehead, causing him to undergo a transformation like Goma did. Though he would still have Dende as a hostage, so when the heroes confront him, they couldn't do anything to stop him. Normally it was Pansy and Hibis who managed to get him to drop Dende, but this time, Pansy's attack does nothing. With the heroes unable to do anything, since Dende would be killed if they did, Degasu likely picks them off one by one. So, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Shin, Pansy, Glorio, and Hibis are all killed. After he defeats the heroes, he would go to find Goma, and once he does find him, he'd overthrow him. With his newfound power, he'd be able to easily kill him, so he takes the throne of Supreme Demon King. I assume Dr. Aransu, Majin Kuu, and Majin Kuu would eventually get in his way, but he should be able to beat them as well. However, after every immediate threat in his way is defeated, it's hard to say what he would do. Degasu never said what he planned to do if he became the Supreme Demon King. In Daima, both Shin and Dr. Aransu pointed out that his pursuit of power was mindless and that he never planned ahead, so he could easily end up being usurped shortly afterwards if he wasn't careful, which he likely wouldn't be careful if he isn't usurped. Since he had tried taking Dende in the original, he likely had plans for him. He likely would have tried to let him grow up and have him make new Dragon Balls for them, just like Goma planned to. As for what he would wish for, it's hard to say, as he never makes any mention about what he would have wished for. The only other thing I can speculate about that he might do is make a return trip to Earth at some point, though that's only if he remembers the other heroes there that didn't come to the Demon Realm. He might want to try and wipe them out before they can grow up again to avenge the others. There'd also be the worry of them using the Earth Dragon Balls to reverse what he did, so I could see him going there not long after he becomes the Supreme Demon King. It's hard to say exactly how he'd rule the Demon Realm, but I doubt he would do a much better job than Goma, and I highly doubt it would be peaceful like it seemed it had become under Majin Kuu. It isn't too difficult to figure out a way for Dr. Aransu to win, as she was on the cusp of doing so. The change would just have to be that Glorio makes her wish as requested instead of wishing for the heroes to be turned into adults. So, for whatever reason, Glorio didn't get as attached to the heroes in this timeline, so he stayed loyal to Dr. Aransu. Anyway, she mentioned that her wish was to become the new Supreme Demon King with unparalleled magic power. We don't exactly know how this wish would work, but I think it would cause Goma to lose the evil third eye. I only think this because the shopkeeper later mentioned that the evil third eye lets the user tap into a bottomless well of magical power, which, that fits with her wish, so the evil third eye is magically taken from Goma and given to her. After getting Glorio to help put it in her forehead, she undergoes a transformation just like Goma did. Given her intelligence and magical skill combined with the new power the evil third eye gave her, she would have an easy time defeating the heroes. Goma had many chances to win during his fight with the heroes, but that's also when he had to face fighters like Majin Kuu, Majin Kuu, and Glorio as well. That wouldn't be the case in this timeline, as they would be helping Dr. Aransu against the heroes, so she would have an easier fight ahead of her than what Goma did. She'd likely save Goma for last, so after the heroes are killed, she'd approach him. Without the power granted by the evil third eye, he wouldn't stand a chance. He's easily killed by her, and she takes the throne, so she becomes the Supreme Demon Queen. Unlike with Degasu, we actually know some things that she wanted to do as the Supreme Demon Queen. One of the first things she mentioned that she'd do was make it worth Marba's while for her help. We don't exactly know how she planned to reward Marba, but I could see her making her the Vice Supreme Demon Queen. Majin Kuu and Majin Buu would likely become part of her cabinet as well. Also, unlike Degasu and Goma, she might not even want to keep Dende alive, since either Majin Buu or herself could beat the Tamagami. Anyway, she also said she wanted to make the demon realm more powerful and terrifying. In doing so, she also mentioned wanting to make the outside world bow before the might of the demon realm. That means it's likely she would go to the outside world many times, but on one of the first trips out, she would get rid of the rest of the heroes on the Earth. Though this does bring up an interesting topic, as Majin Buu was still on the Earth. With the help of Marba, Majin Buu, and Majin Kuu, I could see her trying to capture Majin Buu. This way, with the help of Marba, she could theoretically be able to make an unlimited number of Majins like Buu if she wanted to. Capturing and restraining Buu would be the hard part, but with her unparalleled magical power, she should be able to do so. Even if she doesn't have more Majins created, the outside world wouldn't stand a chance against her, Majin Buu, and Majin Kuu. So, she could easily spread her control into the outside world. Unlike with Degasu, it would be hard for anyone to be able to usurp her. This means that her reign as Supreme Demon Queen would likely last for many years to come. It's hard to say what all she would change to the demon realm, but no one would be able to stop her from changing it into the more terrifying realm she dreamed of. For Goma to win, there's a couple ways it could have happened. The easiest way would have been for him to just not come to Earth. The heroes never would have learned about him, so they never would have gotten his way. His biggest threat might have been Dr. Aransu, but if he found the evil third eye, he could easily handle her and any Majins that might have been created for her. That's the boring way to go about it, though. So that's not the timeline I decided to explore. Instead, I decided to explore a timeline where he manages to defeat the heroes. So, for the way I'm having him win, it'd start when he had Goku paralyzed before he even went into his Super Saiyan 4 form for the first time. Normally, his blast was about to hit and kill Goku, but Tamagami number 1 and Majin Buu saved him at the last second. In this timeline, they don't reach Goku in time, so Goma's blast hits and kills Goku. From there, he likely would be able to pick off the others and kill them one by one. I assume he'd take out Dr. Aransu while he was at it so that she couldn't try to overthrow him later. Regardless, after he defeats all of them, we don't know a lot about how he planned to rule. The most we know is that he planned to keep Dende until he was old enough to make Dragon Balls for him. Like I mentioned in the video about Degasu, he might go to Earth to wipe out the other heroes so they don't try to avenge the others. Anyway, the most we know about his rule from the original timeline is that he wasn't any better than Deborah, as he kept the Gendarmerie and Dr. Aransu's magic collars. In fact, he exacted pointless cruelty to the point that Pansy viewed Deborah more positively than she viewed Goma. With no immediate threats in the way, he likely continued this way of ruling, though he was also seemingly paranoid, so it wouldn't surprise me if he makes things even harsher for some. After all, he turned the heroes into children and took one of them just because he thought the heroes, who didn't even know about him, were going to invade the demon realm. So, his rule might become even harsher, with him taking out any perceived threats when he can. For how long his rule would last is hard to say, but the demon realm isn't going to experience any peace as long as his reign continues. This is the first bonus video I wanted to make, and it's about what could have happened if Kadon became the Supreme Demon King. Also, this is the scenario I mentioned that didn't involve a villain, as Kadon wasn't a villain in the story. I just thought it could have been interesting to explore what could have happened if he became the Supreme Demon King like he wanted to. Though we don't know a lot about what he wanted to do as Supreme Demon King, but I can make some guesses based on things he said or things that were said about him. While unrealistic, the easiest way to get him to be the Supreme Demon King is when everyone was being blown around during the fight with Goma. Instead of it being Majin Kuu who was blown by the back of his head, it's Kadon instead. He should be able to knock the evil third eye out, so when it comes to the scene of figuring out who is the next Supreme Demon King, they'd realize it's him. It's hard to say if he would have had the idea to include people in his cabinet from all the demon realms like Majin Kuu did, but he likely would since he wanted it to be peaceful. Since Gloria described his disposition as that of an uncivilized mafia boss, I think he'd be biased towards some members of his own force. This means that his higher-up officials will likely be people like his daughter, who might become the Vice Supreme Demon Queen, along with other members of his force. If she isn't the Vice Supreme Demon Queen, I could see it being his second-in-command that was seen in the anime, though we don't know her name. Anyway, based on what Pansy said about him, he isn't as bad as other demons, since he only executes bad people and steals from criminals. So, for his role as Supreme Demon King, he likely continued to execute bad people, along with cracking down on criminals. Also, in the original timeline, Kadon mentioned how he thought Goma was a threat to the peace of the demon realm. His methods might bring peace around eventually, but it's likely through a more brutal method than it would have been under Majin Kuu. It's hard to say if he'd have to deal with being overthrown, but with him trying to bring peace to the demon realm, I don't think he'd have to worry about that in the immediate future. So, even though he might be more brutal than Majin Kuu was, things in the demon realm would be far better than they were under Goma. The second and last bonus video I wanted to make is about what could have happened if Majin Buu became the Supreme Demon King instead of Majin Kuu. Just like with the scenario about Kadon becoming the Supreme Demon King, the change happens when everyone was being blown around during the fight with Goma. This time, instead of it being Majin Kuu, it's Majin Buu that is blown by the back of Goma's head. Since he is stronger than Majin Kuu, he should be able to knock the evil third eye out. And when it comes to the scene of everyone trying to figure out who the next Supreme Demon King is, they realize it's Majin Buu. For his Vice Supreme Demon King, I think he'd choose Majin Kuu. Also, he likely wouldn't have too much interest in picking a cabinet, so he might delegate that to his brother, which Majin Kuu would just pick the same people he usually did, with the addition of Dr. Aransu as a cabinet member, since she can't be the Vice Supreme Demon Queen for obvious reasons. Also, when Haphazard tells him that he wants to be in the cabinet, Majin Buu would likely let him in instead of ignoring him like Majin Kuu did. While we haven't seen much of Majin Kuu's reign, we can make some assumptions about how Majin Buu would run things. I don't see him being able to focus on the actual duties of being the Supreme Demon King, so he might delegate all of those duties to Majin Kuu. Essentially, we're still getting Majin Kuu's vision for a peaceful demon realm, though it also comes along with the chaotic Majin Buu indulging in whatever catches his interest at the time. This could range from eating, enjoying luxuries, or just sleeping. In the rare cases he does take action, he might have sudden, destructive outbursts which would likely keep others somewhat terrified of him. Essentially, it's like a spoiled child having absolute power, so his brother would be forced to clean up any messes he causes. This might make Majin Kuu's dream of a peaceful demon realm a little harder to achieve, but with some well-placed candy for distractions, he can keep his brother's tantrums in check.